All right, so comorbidities occur three different ways. The first one is kindling. Kindling is usually referred as a term used for people with seizure disorders. So basically, when people have seizures, their neurons light up, and this causes the neurons to be sensitized, or they're easier to disrupt the next time. So when people are abusing substances, these same neurons are disrupted, and they become sensitized. So basically, people who are depressed, they have a natural tendency to be vulnerable to sensitization, and this in turn leads to the comorbidity for social or depression and substance abuse. All right, the next way comorbidity occurs is through genetics, and there's three proposed theories for this. The first one is that inherently they have a neurological vulnerability to self-medicate. The second one is basically the first initial experience with a drug creates chronic abuse habits. Their brain is basically shaped in a way where they're more likely to use these things habitually. And the third way is the brain is both subject to vulnerability and kindling. And the third way is through diagnostic confounding. Basically, this works as drugs mimic the effects of mood disorders. So I would take, for example, alcohol mimics mania and hypomania. Cocaine can mimic bipolar disorder. Depressants create depressive symptoms, and withdrawal creates anxiety and depression.
So there are a lot of causes of depression. Some factors can be genetic factors, which include family history. There are environmental factors, such as academic pressures if you're a freshman coming into college, or alcohol and drug use, and then maybe coming into a new social network, also with maybe coming into college. Also, what happens with environmental factors is that because of the plasticity of the brain, gene expression can be regulated based on a different environment over time. And so also there are social and cultural factors, such as if when a person was a child they were abused, or during pregnancy. And then biological factors. The biological factors play into pathophysiology. So first is a decrease in monoamines. And so some monoamines are dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. And that is, monoamines are neurotransmitters that are involved in cognitive process. So if you decrease monoamines, you hinder emotion, arousal, and cognitive process. Second is an increase in pro-inflammatory cytokines. And they regulate inflammation and infection. And so if you change the balance in the body, it decreases your regulation ability of inflammation and infection. And this leads to an increase in symptoms of depression, like the lack of wanting to do activities or pleasure in doing other activities you normally would enjoy. Finally, there's increase in the stress hormone cortisol. So what cortisol normally does is it increases your glucose levels in the blood, and what it also does is it decreases brain-derived neurotrophic factors, and these are proteins that regulate growth and differentiation of neurons. So when you increase a stress hormone cortisol, it will increase atrophy of your hippocampus in the brain, and that can lead to deterioration of the immune system. So if you look at this picture, what it shows in yellow is the difference between a normal person and a depressed person, and you can see the size of their hippocampus is decreased from being depressed.
So people with depression often have low levels of neurotransmitters, such as norepinephrine and serotonin. And as you can see in the photo, when the levels of neurotransmitters are disrupted, messages are not received clearly in the brain, creating depressed mood and behavior. The first type of antidepressant is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These prevent the reabsorption of serotonin from the presynaptic neuron, So it increases serotonin overall in the brain, which causes transmission between neurons to increase in the brain, which helps with mood and behavior. Another antidepressant is serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. This acts in the same way as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, but it also affects norepinephrine. If both of these don't work, doctors usually recommend tricyclics, and tricyclics act as the same way as selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, except for it has negative side effects such as heart dysrhythmia. So that's why they usually don't recommend it at the beginning, but if those two don't work, then they recommend tricyclics. And the last one is a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. Monoamine oxidase is a chemical that causes the reabsorption of neurotransmitters between the neurons. So if you inhibit this, you increase serotonin between the cells. The problem with this drug is that it reacts with other medications in food and causes negative side effects. So that's why they recommend this one lastly too. Similar to antidepressants, exercise acts on the brain to increase monoamines such as dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. And as you can see from the earlier slide, this causes an increase in mood and behavior in a similar way to the antidepressants. In addition, when you exercise, you increase your cortisol levels. So after exercise, the cortisol levels decrease below the resting values before. So this causes an overall decrease in cortisol, which decreases the amount of stress in your body. In addition, exercise increases the brain-derived neurotrophic factors, and neurotrophic factors are proteins in the brain that prevent the breakdown of neurons in the brain, which increases the ability of the brain to send signals between neurons. Lastly, exercise decreases cytokines and increases cytokine inhibitors, and cytokine causes inflammation in the brain, which also disrupts the transmission of signals. So if you decrease cytokines, it increases your mood and behavior. So now we'll move on to the 15-week program.
Our mission statement is to provide a holistic approach to depression and substance abuse through exercise sessions, personalized therapy, extension program.
Alright, so our target population, we picked an age range of 20 to 30. Want to include male and female participants. We picked Worcester, Mass. We're looking at African Americans and Hispanics, and with a socioeconomic status that's low, and we want them to have moderate depression, so that's a score between 20 and 28. We picked Worcester, Mass because if you look at this picture, Central Mass is lit up in red, and this image shows the illicit drug use in Massachusetts, and also, Worcester, Mass. is the second largest city in Massachusetts, so if we can impact that area, we can make a good impact on the whole state. So, for our target population age range, we picked, if you look at this graph, the majority of people get depression between the ages of 40 and 60. Our program looks at prevention. So we picked an age range of 20 to 30. If you look at race and Hispanic origin, the highest prevalence is shown in non-Hispanic Black populations and Mexican Americans, so that's why we decided to choose that race. And then finally, we decided to choose male and females. Although females show a higher prevalence, as one study showed that sometimes males may be less likely to report that they are suffering from depression, and also males are more likely to use drugs and alcohol as a way to cope with their depression, so we included them. For socioeconomic status, this graph looks at percent of poverty level. So if you look at the light purple part of each age range, it shows that those who are below poverty level are more likely to be depressed, and so that's why we wanted to target that population.
So this is a quick. Oh wow, this was great. This is a quick overview of our budget and everything that kind of our business entails in terms of positions and expenses. As part of our program, we offer a half-price YMCA membership for excuse me, for patients who graduate from our program, which comes out to $225 a month. We also include things for expenses such as our locations like office building, our staff, personal trainers, psychologists, psychiatrists. Just a quick rundown of basically everything we have, so including our equipment at the bottom, such as the Fitbit Flex. And we're coming out to a total cost of just about $2 million, which is rather pricey.
Our grant was awarded by the Brain and Behavioral Research Foundation. We were awarded $2 million.
Okay, so throughout our presentation, Katie is going to be an acting fictional character that is taking place in our program. She is 22, she's a female, she is a senior at Worcester State. Her ethnicity is Hispanic, she has a low socioeconomic status and opioid addiction, and has a 23 score on the depression. Our program is made up of 3 facilities. We have our home office based out of Worcester on Belmont Street, a partnership with UMass Medical School, where a lot of the psychological group and individual therapy will be taking place, and the YMCA Central Community Branch in Worcester, where our patients will partake in a lot of their physical activity. Because we will be dealing with a lot of patients in a low socioeconomic status, they may not be able to get themselves to and from our facilities. So we plan to provide transportation for them, either the full cost or partial cost through the Worcester Regional Transit Authority. Their fares range from $150 one way for an adult, 75 cents for an adult for a child ages 5 to 13, and free for patients 5 and under. And as I said before, we will be evaluating our patients' financial status to either reward them with a partial or full reimbursement. This slide just shows the bus route that will run along from UMass Med to our Belmont Street office, and it will be the route that our patients will predominantly be taking.
So just to add on to this real quick, I'd also probably mention the fact that our clinic is literally right, our home office is right here.
Yeah.
And that's not just right here. And it's just the fact that it's a 15-minute bus ride or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So we'll say that on that.
Yeah.
This is that one.
What's the side supposed to be?
Alright, so we have
But if you lost it, pause it.
Can I pause it? I don't think you can pause it.
Maybe we should put it so we don't need
Alright, there it is.
Alright, so this is our home office. Location is 355 Belmont Street in Worcester, Mass. Here will probably be most of our consultations with patients for the first time, and simple administrative tasks such as billing, financial evaluations, and scheduling.
Okay, this is so UMass Medical School. We have a partnership with them, as we already talked about. It's where all of our individual and group cognitive therapy is going to be taking place. We have a team of 4 psychologists and 5 psychiatrists. So our cognitive therapy plan, as I just said, is going to be held at UMass Medical School. It's a 15-week program. So it'll start with an initial evaluation, and that will determine kind of what treatment we're going to go with, if you're going to need psychiatrist attention or just kind of some psychologist one-on-one individual therapy. And then after 7 weeks, we're going to the patients are going to take a Beck depression inventory survey, which is kind of like a self-score scale that will evaluate the patient's progress and whether or not they can transition into group therapy or if they should stay with the individual one-on-one therapy. If they pass the survey or the psychologist thinks that they're doing well enough to transition into group therapy sessions, they will do that for another 7 weeks. And at the end of 7 weeks, they will take another evaluation test, and that will determine if they can graduate the program into the extension program or if they're going to need to up their medication, up their exercise, or regress back to individual therapy. So during each of the sessions, during each of the therapy sessions, there's kind of like a guideline of what they need to cover throughout all of the both individual and group therapy, and it kind of starts with psychoeducation about depression, and then they transition into self-exhortation, interpersonal relationships, and social networking. They get into resources and pleasurable activities. Then they move into cognitive model depression and cognitive restructuring, and finally preventing relapsation and evaluation of the treatment. So, Katie, our example client. So Katie, she got an initial consultation, and that they decided that she should definitely start with cognitive therapy. She's going to start with individual therapy with 1 session per week, and then she's going to take the Beck depression scale, inventory scale, and that will determine if she needs to keep going with individual therapy or transition to group therapy. And after second evaluation, she does transition into group therapy. And throughout the whole thing, her progress is monitored by UMass Memorial psychologists.
So the YMCA of Central Mass has a lot of features to its facility, which is part of the reason we chose it, aside from its location. It includes 2 indoor pools, a state-of-the-art wellness center, which will be fantastic for our exercise classes. Newly renovated full-size gymnasium, 2 group exercise studios, a boxing gym, indoor and outdoor track, high-quality squash courts, rock climbing wall, a family locker room, and a steam and sauna rooms and locker areas. This was a quick look at our exercise schedule. So this is the current YMCA schedule in terms of classes that they offer for just general public. We plan on following some of the same schedule, allowing our patients to join these classes and be a part of this program. So some of these classes include, as you can see, yoga, cycling, aquafit, cycling, I think I said that. And then this is a schedule of exercise courses that we created. So we came up with a bunch of group exercises that we thought it would be good for our patients to become involved in. It changes on a daily basis. Certain days, certain classes are offered, such as group runs on Mondays, yoga and meditation on Wednesdays. And these span the time slots that on the previous slide were left blank for the most part. Some overlap a little bit, but that just gives our patients the option of choosing which course or which exercise classes they'd like to become involved in. And also, if you notice on Fridays, we have a football practice, which changes seasonally. Every Friday we have a team-based game of some sort, so it'll change seasonally, as I said, like football in the fall since it's November, and then maybe in the summer we do like volleyball or something along those lines. So let's kind of just put our own twist on exercise and increase the fun in our program.
Our exercise program consists of a 15-week program, which is a full access to the YMCA. The goal is to attend 3 sessions per week for classes, personal training, independent training, and and team sports. Our follow-up measures would be through a Fitbit, which is goal settings, back depression, inventory survey, a follow-up for monitoring.
So for that, I kind of mentioned something along the lines of we want them to meet their criteria, or our criteria exercise-wise, so that they progress better through the program, which is kind of the idea of the Fitbit. Just to monitor their physical activity levels and make sure they're actually achieving what they want to do. So I mean, you can toss something like that in the notes, but that might be good to throw in there too. Just got the incentive program. Who's this?
This is Eric.
Okay.
I did this. It was out of my order, so
You can do
this one as well.
Somebody do it.
So our program is somewhat incentive-based for our patients. We want them to achieve their goals. So if they come in with Fitbit data showing they've made at least 3 classes, they're doing a sufficient amount of physical activity, we will reward our patients with $10 gift cards to Stop and Shop. And what we're trying to get at is our patients to get the 150 minimum minutes per week of physical activity. So here's Katie again. She is going through an initial evaluation with a personal trainer currently.
I want to switch the picture.
Yeah. So might need to change that. Yeah. We're trying. Katie right now is doing 3 sessions per week for classes specific to her needs, such as group running, circuit training, swimming, Zumba. She's participating in YMCA classes, such as cardio, kickboxing, spinning, and TRX, and exercising on her own. And our personal trainers are monitoring her Fitbit data to see if she's keeping up with what she's doing. And we'll continue on to the extension plan of our program.
So the problem with most depression and substance abuse treatment programs is that they stop after the program ends. So people go back to the community that they came from and experience the same social pressures that cause them to be depressed or go into substance abuse to begin with. For example, if a person was struggling with an opioid addiction and they go back to the same community and they have the same friends that were doing opioids, then it's likely that they'll go back to the substance abuse. So in order to combat this, we created an extension program that extends beyond our 15-week program. And this includes a peer mentor program where we hire patients that were successful in our treatment back to the program, and they are paid $13 an hour to act as mentors for the current patients as they leave our program. So they're going to follow up with patients and check to make sure that they're going to treatment and that they're staying clean. In addition, we partnered with the YMCA to make sure that patients can still have access to exercise equipment. So the YMCA will provide half the price for 1 year, and then we'll provide half of the remaining price. So our patients will get a 1-year membership with the Y for a quarter of the price. And the thing that's different about our program is that we have a discharge plan. So we make sure that all of our patients have an appointment with a psychologist and therapist following our treatment plan so that they are getting continued monitoring. Lastly, we provide contacts with halfway houses throughout the Worcester area, and we will plan appointments for our patients throughout Worcester if we feel that that's what they need to adjust back to the normal life.
Do we want to include some of the halfway house names on that side? Because I know we had a couple.
Yeah, I put them in here that I could say them, but I didn't put them in the slide because I thought it was too much work. But we can do that.
Yeah, no, I mean you don't have to put them on there. I just mentioned the names of them too.
Also, did I see in our budget plan that it was $10 an hour, or is it 13?
I looked at the budget and I think it said 13.
Okay, if you did that, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure it's at 13.
Alright, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
So so now that Katie has successfully gone through our program, we created a discharge plan for her. This isn't Katie though. This is her peer mentor, Isabella. Isabella will follow Katie throughout the program and make sure that she's staying on track with her substance abuse treatment and that she gets the help that she needs if she starts to relapse or experiences any trouble. She also has continued psychological treatment with a psychologist and therapist at UMass Memorial. And she's entering a halfway house. The halfway house that she chose is called Catholic Charities, and it's a cozier house for substance abuse patients. So the next part of our program is marketing and budget.
Alright, so we're going to be advertising 4 different ways. The first of which is Facebook, second, billboards, third is using Worcester Regional Transit Authority, and the fourth is flyers. So that's a snapshot of our Facebook page, Sunnyside Up Rehabilitation Center. So there's 2 different ways you can advertise on Facebook. You could use the cost per click method, which is basically the amount of clicks you get on your page each day, and you pay for how often it shows up on other people's timelines. Or you can use the cost per 1,000 impressions, and this is a much more efficient way to do it. So basically the average is about 24 cents per click, but since we're a nonprofit and we have a little bit more money to spend, we decided to bump it up to 40 cents per click to increase the chance of people finding out about us. So basically our target is for 1,000 clicks per week, and that averages out to $1,600 a month. Basically, you can promote your page for an extra $300 per month. So promoting your page, you're basically buying yourself your page likes, and that'll make it more popular for people to see. So basically, you add this all up, and we're going to have a total of $1,900 a month on Facebook advertising. And also, there's a few different ways you can target the population using Facebook, and we decided to use the local awareness objective, which basically drops a pin on our business, and within 50 miles of the proximity, that's the target. That's the people we're trying to outreach to. That's just another quick picture of it. So we're going to be using billboards. So we figured out that it's going to be about $13,000 for 3 billboards located in Worcester, and we're going to place them on exits that are entering inner city Worcester. We're also going to use the WRTA. So we will be buying 5 king-size bus wraps, and we're going to include succinct information about Sunnyside Up, such as location, the contact info, and basically what we're all about. And then we're going to be using flyers. So we want to place these flyers at places that our target population will be around. So we're targeting people who are about 20 years old. So we will place them at college campuses like WPI, Assumption, Worcester State, the rest all below. And then also we're going to be placing them at YMCA. And for 2,000 flyers, it's going to be $386. And that's it.
And we just hit 29 minutes.